Hey guys, good morning, welcome to the vlog. Yes, it's definitely a hangover day. Yesterday evening we went to a birthday party, drinks, and yeah, here I am.
It's moving synchronously, bright lights take flight. You are my ecstasy.
Don't ask me even how, but I somehow transported myself to the studio. There were just 2 or 3 things that I definitely need to take care of. No matter the hangover, there are things that need to be done. Some changes to one of my album songs. I wanted to send it out to someone on Monday. I promised to be finished with it on Monday, but I still didn't have the time to, so trying to do it today. And also writing an email to Apple about my MacBook that is overheating and annoying me a ton. And yeah, so let's get into the hangover story time actually. I thought about covering like everything that happened before I actually started vlogging, because that part isn't really covered here on this channel. Of course, concentrating on DJing and producing might be quite interesting. How I started, how I developed, how I got to the very first gigs, how I got to the very first releases. So let's start maybe at the very beginning, but still make it kind of quick. I grew up like both of my parents being artists, which isn't always easy. It had the advantage that they always had time for me, but the disadvantage that, yeah, being an artist isn't easy. And as a kid, you don't really understand what your parents do for a living. And yeah, the first years of my life, actually like my entire childhood, we were living in a very tiny apartment that didn't even have a bathroom. I mean, yeah, the bathroom was in the kitchen. There was just one water connection in the entire apartment. And then like with 13, 14, I already started like doing mixtapes by copying music onto tape just to make my own. Then I started saving up for vinyl record players and a mixer to actually be able to blend in those songs. Got my very first couple of gigs in youth clubs in front of 20 people, and then parties 16 to 18, and then eventually parties for like 18 plus in the first real clubs actually. Playing strictly vinyl all night long, although there were already these very first Denon players. Back then, Denon was way bigger than Pioneer in the DJ sector. Organized my own parties, some successful, some not that successful. 2 or 3 years later, I had my first actual real residency in a club like an hour away from here, half an hour to an hour away by car. Yeah, it wasn't like the best club. I liked the owner, that's why I played there with Gordon together. But yeah, it was usually empty, so frustrating. I know how it is to play in front like 3 people max. And that was also the time around where I started, I mean, I already started music production like 4 years after starting DJing, just because I had the urge again to make my own, and started making my own edits of some of those hip-hop tracks that I was playing back there, like building intros, outros for them to be able to DJ them. Was also the time I switched to Serato, the very same reason, because this way I could play my own edits. It was actually also the time where I switched from playing only urban music to actually playing house more and more. And eventually, like one party, it was so amazing. It was the first time where I DJ'd actually for older people that were like 21 plus, and it was way more fun because they were actually way more crazy. And I played only house music because that was requested that evening. The next day I was so amazed by it that I could actually play the house music that I loved, that was a little more underground and rougher. Because previously in those school student kind of parties, you could only play like the house hits. Anything else wasn't really accepted. And that grown-up party, they loved everything. So I switched the next day my name from DJ Sine to Jon Sine, and ever since only played and produced house music. Very soon after, I got my first studio setup, very basic laptop, speaker, and keyboard. And then just 1 year into house music, I actually got to play kind of a residency. I was there once per month for 7 months in a row. And one evening, even Eric Prydz played there, and I opened for him, which was really huge. But he wasn't actually that big back then. He was, yeah, just a normal DJ playing in front of like 150 people. Like, we were talking like 10 years ago. During that time, I also had my first couple of releases and thought about actually playing live music, because DJing wasn't really challenging me anymore. Playing with the Pioneer equipment was like a little boring, to be honest. So I started getting an iPad, installing a Lemur app where you can like build your own faders. It's really amazing. It's a big waste of time and like a big time sink, but it's fun. You can program your own controller on the iPad. Got an Akai, what is it, MPC or APC 40 for the channels and the buttons on top. Of course, my MacBook, and actually played one live set, which, I mean, it went great. I didn't screw up, but the people didn't appreciate it. They didn't care me playing live, so I stopped playing live. I had to prepare 2 weeks and no one cared. So this hurt a lot. That time was actually already also with Vanessa. So like 7 years ago. A year later, we then moved together to Berlin for half a year to a year. I built a studio right in the living room, which was a little complicated, but that was actually my least productive time because I was just partying every day. Berlin is crazy, every day party. Everyone is a DJ and producer and everyone wants to party all the time, but it helped me to get connected. I got in contact with the biggest labels in techno, tech house, house, deep house. I got to meet a ton of artists that all then, once I had my first release on Get Physical, which is like one of the best, biggest Berlin-based underground labels, people started approaching me to actually produce for them. And that was pretty much the time where I then moved back to my hometown Düsseldorf, started building my studio from the ground up, making it like really nice, focused fully on ghost productions and also a tiny bit on DJing. I got a residency at the best club back then called The Attic. I played there with Felix the House Cat, Clapton, and a bunch more. They always had a really nice big lineup. Got later on my first gigs outside of Germany, Netherlands, Switzerland, Denmark, and Austria. Started parallel to that, because Gordon talked me into it, a radio show on Big FM, which is like one of the biggest radio stations in Germany. We had huge guests, Robin Schulz, Oliver Kolecki, Alle Farben, Clapton, and a bunch more that were participating, delivering every week a guest mix, and me doing the other half of the show, a mix by me. Still fully ghost producing, so the radio show didn't make a whole lot of sense for me because I didn't really fully advertise my Jon Sine project. It was just like I was producing for other people. Every once in a while I made a song for myself, released it, so there was a release here and there. No real plan, no real structure, no real social media. It was just like a side project and just releasing whatever I felt like. And then eventually came the day where I was frustrated ghost producing for other people, and over time DJing less and less and less because I was fully focused on ghost producing. And the people I ghost produced for were starting making a ton of money and DJing a lot. And the DJing, I actually always wanted to do it. I started out as a DJ, producing came second, eventually transformed into being first, but seeing other people with my music succeeding so that they got gigs was like, yeah, it was just frustrating. I didn't want to keep on doing that. So one day I told myself, okay, let's save up money the next 3-4 months, like save as much as I can, and then stop with the ghost productions. And that's exactly what I did. It took just like 2 months longer, stopped the ghost producing, and that day I also started with the vlogging. Like my first vlog is the first day I stopped producing for other people, fully concentrating onto my own project, making my own music, no music for other people, and just trying to develop as an artist. And that's basically what I'm doing for the past 3 years. If you're interested, go to my very first video. It will show you how I played at the Brukaville Festival, how I had my first little tour in Norway, a bunch of business stuff, like moving the studio to this studio right here, which is like, it's huge. Like this is like a dream come true. I would have never imagined that I will ever have a studio like this. And right now working on my first album actually, which is amazing, and like having successful releases on Spotify with millions and millions of plays. Yeah, it worked out. It worked out. Sometimes in life you just have to cut the old bullshit that is like hindering you from reaching what you actually truly want. First, of course, you have to figure out what you really want, but once you know that, get rid of the other bullshit and just go for it. Everything else will just be very, very frustrating. Anyways, thanks for watching. That's it. Today's hangover story time. Again, if you're interested, check out all of the other videos. It's all captured here on this channel for the past 3 years, every single step. And yeah, tomorrow back again here in the studio, hopefully with less hangover.